Do you give us permission to use your likeliness for our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram? Because probably take a photo, be like next episode sort of thing. You
Sure.
do that?
Yeah.
Cool. What's your name?
My name is Samantha Huzzy.
Samantha, how old are you?
I'm 30.
And where do you come from?
I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland, but I live in Vancouver.
Okay. And at what age did you have your first experience?
I was 9. I was in grade 4. And then it lasted, well, like weird experiences, I would say probably 2 years.
And what happened?
So the first time I was in bed sleeping and it was like the middle of the night and I woke up like lying on my bed and there was a little girl in my room. She was like in old-fashioned like clothes, like almost like an apron and like a dress, and she was looking towards my mirror. And it was around Christmas time and I had like antlers, like ones that you get out at the dollar store, and she was like holding them, looking in the mirror, and it scared me a lot, and so I freaked out and I started panicking, so I just like closed my eyes and I was like, please go away. And I freaked out, and then I was like crying, and then eventually I fell asleep again, I guess, and I woke up and I was terrified for like, I wouldn't go into my room for like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and my mom was like, it was nothing, and I'm like, oh, it was something. It was definitely something.
A lot of times parents don't believe their kids.
Yes, yeah.
What else happened? You said there was a series.
Sure. So then that happened, and then a couple of months later, I woke up and there was a woman sitting at the end of my bed, but like her back was to me, and she like had her legs crossed, and she was sitting there, and I closed my eyes and prayed that it went away. But during that time period as well, I started sleepwalking, which I never ever did before.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I started, I was sleepwalking, and then I would like go into the basement and yelling out for my parents and doing really weird stuff that I never ever did before. And this was the time I was like going through puberty at this time. And so I've heard before in paranormal podcasts and shows that like when people are going through puberty, there's a lot more activity because of all the extra like energy. And so now when I know about paranormal stuff, I do think that was something was like attracted to like the energy that was happening around me.
Wow. And looking back on it, because this is all the time,
Mm-hmm.
parents say it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, what would have made it better for you? Did your parents listen to you?
So my mom is definitely like a believer in the paranormal, so I think maybe she didn't want me to be afraid. My dad was like, oh, it's nothing. Like, didn't, like,
All in your head.
yeah, and he still is like that. Yeah, like, it's something that I've kind of tried to, like, explain away. Like, oh, I was just imagining it, like, over the years, because they're like, oh, it's fine. Nothing happened. You were just dreaming it. But I think if she said something like, oh, like, okay, I understand that was scary for you, but, like, you're safe, I think that would have helped. Like, I didn't sleep in my room for, like, quite a while because I was so afraid, and she was okay with that. She didn't force me to, go into there if I didn't want to, but it was definitely, I think, if they just acknowledged that it happened to me, I experienced it, and I was safe, and maybe just talked to me a little bit about it, it would have helped.
Yeah.
Because people at school, I went and told like some of my friends, and they were intentionally trying to scare me even more, and so that didn't help because there were other people like egging it on. So if they just yeah.
So you were talking about university, and you had an experience there with a person that can see the other side.
Yeah, my friend John, he told me at a party one time. He's like, can I tell you something? And I had a feeling it was going to be scary. I said, you have to tell me some other time because I can't deal with this right now. But then he told me the next day that he could see a woman attached to me, like not in a bad sense, but like almost like a guardian angel. And then the way he described her, I told my mom after, and she said that it sounded like her aunt that had passed away. So that made me feel good, knowing that there was someone like protecting me. But he sees people, like spirits attached to people all the time, and attached to buildings and places like that. And so I've been with him quite a few times where because he kind of like zones out. It's almost like his brain stops, and then that's when you know he's seeing something.
Okay.
And then he'll be like, "Oh yeah, there's just somebody here."
I find it crazy when people are like that because we go on to investigations with mediums and sense
Mhm.
too, and they make those claims as well. What
Mhm.
they're seeing and feeling.
Yeah, if at first, well, especially at the beginning when he was telling me this, it freaked me out for sure. But now I think I'm more. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't happened in a while. Yes, yeah. Maybe I wouldn't be as scared because I know it's not all dangerous or bad.
Yeah. Last question: are you a seeker or an observer of the paranormal?
I want to say a seeker, but I know that I think it would. I'd be so like paranoid that something would be attached to me. So maybe an observer. I think I'm in between.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah.
What's your last experience that you've had?
So I haven't seen anyone since I was a child, but I do have a lot of intuitive experiences quite often. Like I would say like on a monthly basis. So and I think I'm pretty intuitive and connective to like I don't want to say like the other side, but just like in the universe and energy in general. So I do think that and I always have been, and so I don't consider it paranormal, but I do think it's kind of connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think makes the paranormal such a fascinating topic?
I think because it's the unknown. Like we can't ever really know until it happens to us. I guess like until we die, we don't really know. And I think the fact that we can't get a clear black and white answer is what people are attracted to. And also, I think people enjoy the thrill of like not knowing and being scared and looking for answers about mortality. I think is important to people too because it's all going to happen to us, and I think that's something that people are attracted to.
As we're in a graveyard.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you think it takes a certain type of person to experience the paranormal?
You know what? I've thought about this a lot. I do think that it can happen to anyone, but I think if you're more open to it, it's like if you're open to it and you or maybe have more of a clairvoyant intuitive nature, you might experience it more than other people. I do think sometimes, especially adults, they're just willing to like ignore things that happen to them, so they're not willing, like their brain isn't willing to accept what's happening. But I do think that and I've heard from other people as well, like if you're really involved with like religion or your church and you're very open to like the whatever it is that you believe in, that you might have more of a chance to also let in the bad as well because you're letting in both different channels. I don't know if that means anything to anyone, but I have heard that from a few people.
I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
Since your experience, do you believe, well, obviously you've answered this a couple
Yeah.
times, but do you believe there's more to the world?
Yes, yeah, I do. I'm very, I would say definitely spiritual. I don't, and more on like the energy, Mother Earth side of things versus like a regulated religion. But I do think there's something else, like another, like a veil that we can't see as just like regular people.
And that's why we investigate.
Yes.
Okay, well, that concludes our interview.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.